Welcome to the Dr. Maya podcast, where we challenge the norms of healthcare, empower people to take control of their health, and redefine the future of medicine.
Life was given to us 1 billion years ago. What have we done with it?
Today, we're tackling a big one, the idea that everything is connected. You've probably heard this in various spiritual contexts, but, well, we're not just taking it on faith. We're going to explore what science has to
Our
say.
mission today is to see if this, the sense of interconnectedness moves beyond just a nice sentiment and into something scientifically compelling.
Okay.
And we've got a pretty fascinating collection of material for you, from cheese insights linking the cosmos to our personal lives, to ideas around the law of attraction, the science of matter and antimatter,
Right.
the power of the mind and healing how we actually think, and even navigating self-doubt.
Okay. Let's jump right into a connection that's truly, well, awe-inspiring, the link between our hearts and the stars. Tom Chi, with his background in astrophysics, talks about how this question of interconnectedness has been a constant in his journey. And he points to something really fundamental right inside us.
What's fascinating here is the molecule right at the heart of our hemoglobin, Heme B. As you know, it's essential for carrying oxygen throughout your body.
Yeah.
And at the center of each Heme B molecule, a single atom of iron.
Right. Now, here's where it gets truly mind-blowing. That iron, crucial for every breath and heartbeat, it has this cosmic origin story.
Yeah.
It wasn't just formed here on Earth. Science tells us that iron is exclusively created in supernovas and supermassive stars. Think about that for a moment.
Yeah, the early universe was mostly hydrogen and helium. Basically, no iron existed back then.
So the iron coursing through your veins right now is a direct result of stars reaching the end of their lives in these, well, spectacular explosions.
Supernovas, yeah. They're these incredible events that forge heavier elements, including that iron, and then just scatter them across the universe.
But it's not just a one-time thing, is it? These elements then need to, come together again to form new stars.
Right, which will eventually also produce iron. And a key driver in this whole ongoing cycle of massive star birth, the thing that kind of stirs the cosmic pot and mixes those interstellar gases, is galactic collisions.
Galactic collisions.
Precisely. The Hubble Space Telescope has captured these stunning images of galactic mergers, these colossal cosmic crashes that unfold over hundreds of millions or even billions of years. When galaxies collide, their interstellar clouds of gas compress, and that triggers intense bursts of new star formation. These new massive stars live fast and die young, often ending as supernovas, spreading the iron they created back out in the cosmos.
So the profound takeaway here isn't just that stars make iron, but that a fundamental building block of you was forged in a stellar explosion billions of years ago. That iron then traveled across the vastness of space, maybe through multiple star cycles and galactic collisions, and eventually became part of, well, us. Every heartbeat is literally connected to these cosmic events. It's a staggering thought, isn't it?
It truly is. And it beautifully sets the stage for our next connection, one that's maybe more immediate but equally fundamental: the link between our breath and the earliest forms of life on Earth.
Taking a deep breath, we do it automatically, constantly. It's such a simple act that can feel very grounding, like Tom Chi points out. But he also highlights that this basic act of breathing oxygen, well, it wouldn't have been possible on our planet just 3 billion years ago.
Yeah, the Earth's atmosphere back then was radically different. While nitrogen levels were maybe similar to today, oxygen was almost non-existent.
Really?
Instead, the atmosphere was thick with carbon dioxide. It was largely uninhabitable for the kind of complex life we're familiar with now.
So who are the unsung heroes who made the air we breathe? It turns out they were tiny, single-celled organisms called cyanobacteria.
Right. These are some of the earliest forms of life, thriving in environments that would be toxic to us today, often found in these layered rock-like structures called stromatolites.
Stromatolites.
Oh.
Okay.
What's truly remarkable is that cyanobacteria are photosynthetic. So just like plants today, they use sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide to produce energy. And as a byproduct of this whole process, they released oxygen.
Wow.
Over billions of years, this seemingly tiny action, repeated by countless organisms, slowly began to transform the composition of Earth's atmosphere.
It must have been an incredibly gradual process, though, taking hundreds of millions of years.
Oh, absolutely. But eventually, oxygen levels started to climb. And then, around 600 million years ago, a really pivotal moment occurred. The formation of the ozone layer.
Ah, the ozone.
The ozone layer, which developed from all that increasing oxygen in the atmosphere, acted like a shield, basically, protecting the Earth's surface from harmful ultraviolet radiation from the sun.
Which was a total game changer, right?
A huge game changer. Before this protective layer, complex multicellular life couldn't really survive on land. But with the ozone layer in place, we saw the Cambrian explosion, this burst of diverse life in the oceans, and eventually the first plants colonized the land. Life as we know it began to flourish.
And the connection doesn't even end there. What happened to those ancient cyanobacteria? Well, their descendants are kind of still with us today, aren't they?
Absolutely. They were essentially incorporated into plant cells through a process called endosymbiosis and evolved into what we now know as chloroplasts, those tiny structures within plant leaves responsible for photosynthesis.
So the same process is still happening.
Exactly. The very process that ancient cyanobacteria started billions of years ago continues within the plants all around us.
Which brings us to this beautiful cycle of breath. Our out-breath is rich in carbon dioxide, which is essential for plants to do their photosynthesis. It's their in-breath, you could say. And their out-breath is oxygen, which is what we need to survive our in-breath. It's this continuous fundamental exchange, a deep interconnectedness between the plant and animal kingdoms.
It's a profound thought experiment, as Tom Chi suggests.
Yeah.
Imagine being one of those single-celled organisms billions of years ago, just, existing day to day.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have had any concept that your simple existence was laying the groundwork for all the complex life that would eventually arise.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder about the potential impact and meaning of our own lives, which might extend far beyond what we can currently comprehend.
Absolutely. Now let's shift our focus a bit from the cosmic and the ancient to something that feels distinctly human. The connection of our minds. And Tom Chi is careful to clarify here, this isn't about telepathy or anything scientifically unsubstantiated, but rather a connection forged through shared history and the accumulation of innovation. He uses the example of a piano.
The piano, yeah. It's an incredibly complex instrument, demands immense coordination, a deep understanding of musical theory, and years of dedicated practice to achieve mastery.
Right.
Brain imaging of concert pianists actually reveals just how much of their neural network is dedicated to this skill, these intricate patterns of thought and muscle memory.
But here's the crucial point he makes. That intricate pattern of thought, that ability to play the piano, it simply wasn't possible even a few centuries ago because the piano itself wasn't invented until around the year 1700.
Right.
And certainly 5,000 years ago, the concept of playing such an instrument wouldn't have even entered someone's imagination.
And the invention of the piano wasn't some isolated stroke of genius either. It was built upon centuries of progress in mechanical engineering, the evolution of earlier stringed instruments, countless other preceding developments in human thought and skill. It was really a culmination of many different threads of innovation.
This leads to Chai's concept of the palette of being. We are all born into a world that already has this vast history of accumulated experiences, knowledge, and ways of being from all of humanity before us. We can only really paint with the colors, the skills, the knowledge, the technologies that are available on our palette at the time we are born.
That's a great analogy. Yeah. Consider this. The ability to be, say, a software engineer is a relatively recent color on our human palette. It simply wasn't an option a few hundred years ago.
But the amazing thing, as Chi points out, is that we also have this unique capacity to create new colors through our own inventions, our development of new skills, and the emergence of new ways of understanding the world. And he suggests that the prevalence of the everything is connected idea in many spiritual traditions might arise from the fact that societies that deeply internalize this idea tend to cultivate greater empathy, understanding, and consideration for one another.
It seems to foster a more holistic perspective, right? A stronger sense of shared humanity. And perhaps this is why this idea, in various forms, keeps reappearing at the heart of both spiritual wisdom and, as we're exploring now, scientific inquiry.
This concept of interconnectedness seems to extend even further, touching upon ideas like the law of attraction, which we've encountered in some of our sources.
Right.
Ancient wisdom found in texts like the Upanishads with their profound statements, Tat Tvam Asi, that is you, Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman. They suggest this fundamental unity, that we are all part of the same ultimate reality. Is there any scientific resonance with this kind of idea?
Well, what's fascinating is the growing scientific appreciation for our cosmic origins. We are quite literally stardust.
Stardust.
Our planet is constantly being bombarded with tiny particles from across the universe becoming part of us. The very atoms that make up our bodies can be traced back to the nuclear furnaces of distant stars.
And this connection goes beyond just the origin of the matter itself, doesn't it? There seems to be a fundamental chemical link as well.
Absolutely. The most abundant elements in the universe, hydrogen, oxygen, and carbon, are also the most abundant elements in the human body. In a very real sense, you could say we are carbon copies of the universe in terms of our basic chemical composition.
So the notion that you are the universe experiencing itself isn't just some poetic phrase. There's a scientific basis to suggest a deep unity in our fundamental building blocks.
Exactly.
And perhaps this perspective offers a new way to think about the law of attraction, the idea that when you truly desire something, the universe conspires to help you achieve it.
One of our sources even proposes that the law of attraction might stem from this underlying truth that you are the universe in a fundamental sense. It even touches upon the formation of Earth itself, originating from a molten mass ejected from the sun, initially entangled, and then solidifying through impacts, creating the matter we now inhabit. It's a really deep thought.
It really is. This interconnectedness also reveals itself in the powerful link between our minds and bodies, especially when it comes to healing. The placebo effect.
Yes, the placebo effect.
Something the medical community has studied extensively for over half a century, stands as pretty compelling evidence of this connection.
Indeed. The placebo effect, where a sham treatment, like a sugar pill, results in genuine physiological improvements, demonstrates the body's remarkable capacity for self-healing, often triggered simply by the mind's belief in the treatment.
And the Spontaneous Remission Project database is truly remarkable. It documents thousands of cases where individuals with so-called incurable conditions, advanced cancers, HIV, heart disease, and more have experienced complete recovery without conventional medical intervention.
It's quite stunning. And the story of Mr. Wright in Kriviosin perfectly illustrates the power of belief. His tumors regressed significantly, not once but twice, when he believed he was receiving a potent new drug.
Even when it wasn't.
Even when it turned out to be just distilled water. Conversely, the tale of the 3 hexed baby girls tragically highlights the nocebo effect, the dark side of belief, where the belief in a negative outcome can manifest physically in devastating ways.
And these aren't just subjective feelings of improvement, are they? Studies have shown that placebos can lead to measurable physiological changes, like ulcers healing, inflammation decreasing, even hair growth in some cases. It's a real physical response initiated by the mind.
Absolutely. And what's also critical here is the role of the healthcare provider in this mind-body connection. Research by Ted Kapjuk suggests that the empathy, the care, and the belief conveyed by the doctor can significantly amplify the placebo effect.
So the doctor matters.
In a way, the doctor themselves can become the placebo, or unfortunately, through negative pronouncements, the nocebo. This highlights the potential for what one source termed medical hexing through overly pessimistic prognosis.
This broader understanding of health extends beyond just physical interventions then. The whole health care model emphasizes the interconnectedness of various aspects of our lives for overall well-being, including healthy relationships, fulfilling work and creative expression, spiritual connection, a healthy sex life, financial stability, and a supportive environment, all anchored by what they call the inner pilot light. And there's data supporting these connections.
Absolutely. Studies have shown correlations between strong marriages and increased longevity, regular attendance at religious services and longer lifespans, and conversely, the negative health consequences of chronic overwork like karoshi in Japan.
Right, death by overwork.
Even our general outlook plays a significant role, with happier individuals tending to live longer and optimists having a lower risk of cardiovascular disease compared to pessimists.
And the physiological mechanisms underlying this mind-body interplay are becoming clearer, aren't they? We have the stress response.
Right. The stress response, with its release of hormones like cortisol and activation of the fight-or-flight system, stands in contrast to the relaxation response. The relaxation response triggers the release of healing hormones like oxytocin and dopamine, allowing the body's natural repair processes to activate. These innate self-repair mechanisms are often suppressed by chronic stress.
I see.
So the placebo effect likely taps into this relaxation response, creating a neurophysiological environment conducive to healing through a combination of positive expectation and supportive care.
This brings us to the fascinating realm of the unconscious mind and how it can sometimes create internal friction, leading to self-doubt and even self-sabotage, even in people who are intelligent and driven.
Yeah, this often boils down to this dynamic tension between our innate desire for comfort and security and our equally powerful innate drive for growth and expansion. Our brains operate with different systems at play. You can think of it as the conscious logical mind. Let's call it Drew for simplicity.
Drew.
And the unconscious mind, the realm of deeply ingrained habits and emotional patterns. Let's call that Gun.
Drew and Gun. Got it. And those early years of childhood, before age 7, when our brains are operating in more suggestible brainwave states like theta, they seem particularly influential in programming Gun, don't they?
Oh, hugely. Aristotle's famous quote, "Give me the child for 7 years and I will give you the man," really underscores this. A seemingly casual negative remark from a parent, something like, "You're not good enough," can be unconsciously absorbed by a child and become a deeply rooted, limiting belief.
Wow.
The midbrain, our Gun, is incredibly efficient at automating repetitive thoughts and behaviors, turning conscious decisions into unconscious habits that run largely on autopilot.
So even when our conscious mind, Drew, is striving towards a goal, the powerful unconscious mind, Gun, can act like a massive elephant being guided by a tiny ant,
That's a good analogy.
often pulling us back towards familiar, even if ultimately unhelpful, patterns. And the strong influence of our social circles, the 95% law of conformity, as it's sometimes called, can further reinforce these unconscious beliefs.
Yeah, the peer group effect is powerful. But the encouraging news is that we can consciously work to reshape the programming of our unconscious mind.
Oh.
Well, it involves being mindful of the information we consume, limiting negative influences, like doom-scrolling news,
Right.
actively seeking out positive and supportive input, reading uplifting material, listening to positive podcasts, and perhaps most importantly, engaging with mentors or guides who can help us identify and dismantle those limiting unconscious patterns, getting the wrong stuff out.
And what about self-doubt itself? It's such a pervasive human experience. How can we navigate its challenges effectively?
Interestingly, directly fighting against self-doubt can sometimes backfire, actually amplifying its power.
Really? How?
Well, the mind doesn't always process negations effectively, So constantly telling yourself, "I should not doubt myself," can paradoxically keep the focus on doubt.
Huh. So what's a more constructive approach then?
Sharing those feelings of self-doubt with trusted friends or mentors, it seems, can be a vital step in finding the courage to move forward. Just voicing it can lessen its grip.
Makes sense.
And ultimately, one of our sources suggests that cultivating self-love fosters an inner peace that makes you truly resilient. Embracing doubt can even serve as a reminder to be more gentle and nurturing towards ourselves, like, "Oh, there's that doubt again, time for some self-compassion."
That's a nice way to frame it.
It's also important to have realistic expectations.
Yeah.
Overcoming deeply ingrained self-doubt is often a journey, not an instant fix. It takes time and consistent effort.
Now let's turn our attention to the very science of thinking itself. It turns out that engaging in deliberate thought can actually feel quite effortful, even, well, unpleasant sometimes.
Yeah.
Which might explain why we sometimes opt for quick, intuitive answers that aren't always correct, like those simple math problems people get wrong.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This brings us back to that dual system model of thinking we mentioned. System 1, our Gun, which operates quickly, automatically, and largely unconscious.
The autopilot.
And System 2, our Drew, which is slower, more deliberate, and requires conscious effort. Gun relies heavily on our long-term memory, while Drew has a very limited capacity for working memory, the information we can actively hold in our minds at any given time.
And this limitation of working memory is key to understanding how we learn effectively, right? The concept of chunking.
Yes, chunking. Grouping related pieces of information together into meaningful units. It allows us to bypass those working memory limitations and hold more complex information in our active thought.
So learning is essentially building those mental chunks.
Exactly. Learning is the process of building these mental chunks and automating skills, gradually transferring them from the conscious control of Drew to the automatic execution of Gun through focused, deliberate practice.
Okay.
The add one task mentioned in one of our sources, where the simple act of adding 1 to a series of digits cause measurable pupil dilation, beautifully illustrates the physiological effort involved in conscious System 2 thinking. Your brain is literally working harder.
And sometimes the automated habits of Gun can interfere with our conscious knowledge held by Drew, leading to those frustrating mental slips, right?
Oh, definitely. Think about driving on the opposite side of the road in a new country. Even though Drew knows the rule, Gunn's ingrained habits can take over momentarily.
Been there.
What's particularly interesting and maybe counterintuitive is that making information slightly more difficult to process can actually force Drew to engage more deeply, leading to enhanced understanding and better retention.
Harder is better.
Sometimes. The example of a test printed in a slightly harder to read font resulting in more correct answers illustrates this. The brain has to work a bit harder to decode it, forcing deeper processing. It's also a rationale behind the shift in education towards more active learning methodologies that require conscious engagement rather than just passively listening.
So that discomfort we feel when learning something new.
That discomfort inherent in struggling with new information can ultimately lead to greater learning and growth. We need to embrace it.
Fascinating. Finally, let's delve into another, perhaps more mysterious realm that hints at a deeper interconnectedness. Antimatter.
Ah, antimatter.
It's a staple of science fiction, but what is it scientifically, and how might it relate to our overarching theme today?
Well, in modern physics, antimatter is essentially the mirror image of ordinary matter. For every fundamental particle, like an electron or a quark, there exists a corresponding antiparticle with reverse properties, most notably electric charge.
So the electron has a negative charge.
And its antiparticle, the positron, first predicted by Dirac before it was discovered, has a positive charge. This reversal extends to other fundamental properties too, often summarized as charge, parity, and time reversal, or CPT reversal. It's like a mirror image in several fundamental ways.
So in principle, could you build atoms and even molecules from antimatter? Could there be entire antiplanets out there that look identical to regular planets?
Theoretically, yes. Antiparticles combine together to form anti-atoms and anti-molecules. An antimatter planet composed of anti-elements would likely behave very similarly to a matter planet in terms of gravity and appearance. We've even succeeded in creating simple anti-atoms like anti-hydrogen in the lab at places like CERN.
But the universe isn't half matter and half antimatter, is it?
No, and that's the profound mystery. The observable universe is overwhelmingly composed of ordinary matter, a puzzle known as baryon asymmetry. Why the imbalance? We don't fully know.
Where does antimatter even come from?
Well, high-energy photons like gamma rays can actually transform into a particle-antiparticle pair, say an electron and a positron, when they interact with an atomic nucleus. That's a direct consequence of Einstein's famous equation, EMCO show, energy converting to mass.
Wow.
Antimatter particles are also detected in cosmic rays, likely produced by high-energy astrophysical events, like supernova explosions or processes occurring near black holes.
And scientists at CERN have been doing some pretty groundbreaking experiments involving antimatter, haven't they? Testing gravity.
Absolutely. The Altair experiment at CERN, for instance, has provided compelling evidence that antimatter, specifically antihydrogen, is affected by gravity in the same way as ordinary matter. It falls down, not up.
Okay, so no anti-gravity.
It seems not, which confirms a fundamental prediction of Einstein's theory of general relativity and challenges some alternative theories that proposed anti-gravity for antimatter. They're also actively searching for larger antimatter nuclei, like antihelium, in cosmic rays. Finding those could potentially hint at the existence of larger antimatter structures, like anti-stars, elsewhere in the cosmos.
It sounds incredibly challenging and really resource-intensive to produce and study antimatter.
Oh, it is. The quantities produced in labs are minuscule, like vanishingly small. And storing it presents huge technical hurdles because it annihilates instantly upon contact with ordinary matter.
Right, big explosion.
A very big explosion, releasing pure energy. However, that annihilation is also what makes its potential applications so tantalizing. Its incredibly high energy density makes it a theoretical candidate for highly efficient rocket fuel for deep space travel, though we're a very long way from that.
So from the iron in our blood originating from distant stellar explosions, to the oxygen we breathe thanks to ancient microbial life, to the shared tapestry of human thought shaped over millennia, and even the enigmatic relationship between matter and antimatter.
Yeah.
It really seems this intuition of interconnectedness runs deep through the very fabric of reality.
Exactly. We hope this deep dive has provided you with some of those satisfying aha moments, offering a concise yet thorough exploration of this profound concept without, overwhelming you with excessive detail.
So considering the scientific landscape, does the ancient wisdom suggesting that everything is connected appear less like an abstract philosophical notion and more like a fundamental reality woven into the very structure of the universe and our place within it? What other seemingly abstract ideas might hold surprising scientific truths just waiting to be uncovered? It's definitely something to contemplate until our next deep dive.